Once upon a time, in a far-off land, there lived a kindly gentleman. He had a fine home and a lovely little daughter, and he gave her all that money could buy: a horse of her own, a funny puppy dog, and beautiful dresses to wear. But the little girl had no mother. She did wish for a mother and for other children to play with. So her father married a woman with 2 daughters. Now, with a new mother and sisters, he thought his little daughter had everything to make her happy. But alas, the kindly gentleman soon died. His fine home fell into disrepair, and his second wife was harsh and cold. She cared only for her own 2 ugly daughters. To her lovely stepdaughter, she was cruel as cruel could be. Everyone called the stepdaughter Cinderella. Now, for she had to work harder, she was dressed in rags, and she sat by the cinders to keep herself warm. Her horse grew old, locked up in the barn, and her dog was not allowed in the house. But do you suppose Cinderella was sad? Not a bit. She made friends with the birds who flew to her windowsill. She made friends with the barnyard chickens and geese. And her best friends of all were, guess who? The mice. The musty old house was full of mice. Their homes were in the garret where Cinderella lived. She made a little cloth for them and gave them all names, and they thought Cinderella was the sweetest and the most beautiful girl in the world. Every morning her friends, the mice and the birds, woke Cinderella from her dreams. Then it was breakfast time for the household, with Cinderella doing all the work, of course. Out on the back steps, she set a bowl of milk for the stepmother's disagreeable cat. Disagreeable cat, who watched for his chance to catch the mice. The faithful dog had a tasty bone. There was grain for the chicken and ducks and geese, and Cinderella gave some grain to the mice when they were out of reach of the cat, of course. Then back into the house she went. Up the stairway, she carried the breakfast trays for her stepmother and her 2 lazy stepsisters, and down she came with the breakfast of mending some clothes to wash and a long list of jobs to do for the day. Now, let me see, her stepmother would say, you can clean the large carpet in the main hall and wash all the windows upstairs and downstairs, scrub the terrace, sweep the stairs, and then you may rest. Oh, said Cinderella. Yes, sir. And off to work she went. Now, across the town from Cinderella's home was the palace of the king, and in the king's study one day sat the king himself, giving orders to the great Grand Duke. The prince must marry, said the king. It is a high time. But, your majesty, what can we do? Asked the duke. First, he must fall in love. We can arrange that, said the king. We shall give a great ball this very night and invite every girl in the land. There was great excitement in Cinderella's home when the invitation to the king's ball came. How delightful! The stepsisters said to each other. We are going to the palace to a ball. And I, said Cinderella, I am invited too. Oh, you, laughed the stepsisters. Yes, you, mocked the stepmother. Of course, you may go if you finish your work, she said, and if you have something suitable to wear. I said, if, and she smiled a horrid smile. Cinderella worked as hard as she could all the long day, but when it was time to leave for the ball, she had not had a moment to fix herself up or to give a thought to a dress. Why, Cinderella, you are not ready, said her stepmother when the coach was at the door. No, I'm not going, said Cinderella sadly. Not going. Oh, what a shame, the stepmother said with her mocking smile. But there will be all the balls. Poor Cinderella. She went to her room and sank sadly down with her head in her hands. But a twittering sound soon made her turn round. Her little friends had not forgotten her. They had been scampering and flying about as busy as could be, fixing a pretty dress for her to wear. Oh, how lovely! She cried. I can't thank you enough, she told all the birds and the mice. She looked out the window. The coach was still there, so she started to dress for the ball. Wait, cried Cinderella. I'm coming too. She ran down the long stairway just as the stepmother was giving her daughters some last commands. They turned and stared. My beads, cried one stepsister, and my ribbon, cried the other, snatching off Cinderella's sash. And all the boys, you thief, those are mine. So they pulled and they ripped and they tore at the dress until Cinderella was in rags once more, and then they flounced off to the ball. Poor Cinderella, she ran to the garden behind the house, and there she sank down on a low stone bench and wept as if her heart would break. But soon she felt someone beside her. She looked up and through her tears she saw a sweet-faced woman. Oh, said Cinderella, good evening. Who are you? I am your fairy godmother, said the little woman, and from the thin air she pulled a magic wand. Now dry your tears. You can't go to the ball looking like that. Let's see now. The first thing you will need is a pumpkin. The fairy godmother went on. Cinderella did not understand, but she brought the pumpkin. And now for the magic words. Sora-la-doo-la, Mechikabula, bibidi-babidi-boo. Slowly up reared the pumpkin on is a pumpkin vine, and it turned into a handsome magic coach. What we need next is some fine big mice. Cinderella brought her friend the mice, and at the touch of the wand, when they turned into prancing horses. Then all the horses became a fine coachman, and Bruno the dog turned into a footman at the touch of the wand, and bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. There, said the fairy godmother, now hop in, child. You've no time to waste. The magic only lasts till midnight. But my dress, Cinderella looked at her rags. Good heavens, child, laughed the fairy godmother. Of course, you can't go in that. Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. The wand waved again, and there stood Cinderella in the most beautiful gown in the world, with tiny slippers of glass. The princess' ball had started. The palace was blazing with lights. The ballroom gleamed with silks and jewels, and the princess smiled and bowed, but still looked bored, as all the young ladies of the kingdom in turn curtsied before him. Up above on a balcony stood the king and the duke, looking on. Whatever is the matter with the prince? Cried the king. He doesn't seem to care about one of those beautiful maidens. I feared as much, the duke said with a sigh. The prince is not one to fall in love at first sight.